If you thought building a kit car was a daunting prospect, how about building one from nothing but a set of plans? These cars take building to the extreme. The Burlington Arrow is a car I remember from my early interest in kit cars around 1983 when I started reading the magazines by one Peter Philby. The Burlington Arrow was of the growing number of 1930s inspired cars on the British kit car market. It was designed by Hayden Davis, and the Burlington cars idea was very similar to other kit cars, using a Triumph Herald chassis onto which a 1930s body was mounted. As with other kits of its style, the outriggers on the chassis were removed, and instructions in the build manual would explain how to do this. Where the Arrow differed from other 1930s style cars is that instead of having a GRP body tub with separate GRP cycle or flowing wings, with maybe aluminium for the bonnet and a GRP grille, the Burlington Arrow created most of the body tub from marine ply clad in aluminium sheet. It was harking back to the cars of the 1930s, so in some ways it was a more accurate replica. It was also an attractive car, which obviously helped, and the plans were selling quite well. In fact, the company started selling the Centurion plans as well as their own Arrow plans. The company started in Leamington Spa in Warwickshire before moving to Northampton in 1988 and becoming the Burlington Motor Company, later reforming as the Burlington Design Group in 1989. Kit production seems to have stopped around 1992, but the Burlington Arrow and the Beretta, which had the option of flowing wings to the Arrow's cycle wings, was the main difference between the two. But they set a trend for plan-built cars in the UK, and I wouldn't say it was the first ever plan-built car, because for one, I don't have the knowledge to be able to confirm that, but it was certainly the most successful in the 1980s, and later joined by the JC Midge. I think they carved up the market pretty well themselves between the two of them, and they were distinctive enough to sit alongside each other rather nicely. It was a rather elegant use of the Herald chassis, with the last Triumph Heralds being produced in the early 1970s. It did create a lot of cheap donors by the time the Arrow kits were, or plans should I say, were on the market in the 1980s. So that's the Burlington Arrow. I suppose you could say it was the pioneer in the UK, but as you'll hear with the car that they the plans that they imported from the US, the Centurion, the Americans did things in a very different way. While in the UK, a more traditional approach was taken to the construction of our plan-built cars, in the States they took things a step further, and using techniques used in the home-built plane, and I mean full-size plane industry, they used these same techniques to produce more modern-shaped cars. So the Centurion, designed by Quincy Lynn Enterprises, was based on a Triumph Spitfire chassis, and it looks really modern even today. It's powered mostly by the Triumph four-cylinder engine, The six-cylinder did kind of create a problem with that sloping bonnet from the GT6, but this vehicle could be built from a set of plans. You basically had your Triumph Spitfire chassis, and the plans incorporated a plywood frame, if you like, that goes over the chassis, and you construct this yourself, and then you use a mixture of expanding foam blocks, and you file them down, place fiberglass over the top, smooth it all off, and hey presto, you end up with a very modern looking car. It was a very clever design, and Burlington saw this as the perfect accompaniment to their Arrow, and they marketed it in the UK. Although I'm not aware of anyone who's actually built one. More's the pity, because it still looks damn good to me. The Vortex is another car that was developed in America using the same construction techniques as the Centurion. The difference between the Vortex and other three-wheeled plan-built cars that were available in the States at the time was that this was another one that was advertised and sold in the UK as well. In fact, I know of at least one UK Vortex builder, and there is a link in the description below to his extraordinary and fantastic car. But going back to the model, again, a plywood frame was constructed, this time without a separate chassis. Metal brackets were attached at the front, onto which Triumph Spitfire front suspension was fitted. At the rear, you had a choice of motorcycle four-cylinder inline engines from a variety of motorbikes that could be fitted to the Vortex. Now, the base styling was very angular, but it worked. It was still quite futuristic, and it still looks good today. And with the method of construction using expanding foam and in blocks that you could buy or make yourself, and then smoothing it over and putting fiberglass over the top, smoothing it over, and then painting it over the top, you could come up with quite a unique looking car. Again, I don't know how many others were built in the UK. I don't know how many were built in the States, but it was a lovely idea. And it really would feel special, because here's a modern, futuristic car that you can drive around and have that added feeling beyond a kit car, that you'd not just built it yourself, you'd literally built it from a set of plans, from a pile of wood on the floor. It takes the kit car concept another level, and for that reason it's a fantastic idea. We now come to the JC Midge, and I think it's extremely important that I begin with an apology. In a previous video, I talked about the Moss Monaco, and its designer was John Cowperthwaite. Now, I was told, quite rightly, that I pronounced his name incorrectly, and I am very, very scared that I may have just pronounced it incorrectly again. For any offence caused to his family, his friends, or his followers, I apologise, because I am a fan of the gentleman in question. The Moss Malvern and Roadster are, to me, the most attractive, or one of the most attractive designs that emerged in the 1930s style cars of the 1980s. However, after the Moss range, John turned his attention to plan-built cars, and the first of these was the JC Midge. Now, unlike the Moss Roadster and Malvern, the JC Midge placed on top of the Herald chassis, as used by the Burlington Arrow that preceded it, a marine ply or MDF and aluminium sheet body. This again made it very similar to the 1930s styled cars that inspired it. I do believe that the radiator cowling was a aluminium casting, and again this made it again very distinctive. It was inspired by cars like the MG J2 Midget. It was available in a set of plans, and it was mainly constructed, as I said, from aluminium skinned plywood. After JC Sports Cars, T&J of Rotherham and then White Rose Vehicles took over the marketing and development of the Midge. And it carried on with various variations being created at a later date, including the Mark II, which used Suzuki SJ as a donor. Again, very upright, tall wheels would have suited the 1930s styling, although it's a step away from the original Triumph Herald concept. There was also believed to be a version using Citroen 2CV running gear. However, the original, and probably to my mind the best, was the Herald-based car, and this was the first of the models under the JC banner that was to generate quite healthy planned sales in the late 1980s and early 90s. After the success of the JC Midge, JC went on to produce the Locust. It was a very clever idea, basically again using a ladder chassis, and again the body was constructed from 3 sheets of marine plywood or MDF and then skinned with aluminium. Only this time, instead of a 1930s style roadster, it made something that was more akin to a Lotus 7-esque car. The chassis, as I mentioned, was a ladder frame, and there were various variations of the car. There was the Locust, the Hornet, the Locust Series 3, and the RT Blaze. The Hornet was a larger Locust that moved on from Triumph Spitfire or Ford Escort running gear to Ford Cortina, while the Locust Series 3 was based on the Ford Sierra and used again a new ladder chassis. The RT Blaze was the name given to the Sierra-based Locust Series 3 after Road Tech Cut Engineering took it over. And now we come to a car that actually spawned a mini industry in its own right. And it has to be said that to a certain extent, and it has been claimed, that this particular car probably saved the British kit car industry, and it went on to be sold worldwide because it came in the form of a book. A very clever gentleman called Ron Champion produced a book called Build Your Own Sports Car for as little as £250. Now that is an enticing idea in its own right, as even back in the day when it was produced in the late 1990s, it was still regarded as a very cheap price. So basically, the idea is that the book gave you a step-by-step guide to building a roadworthy two-seater sports car, which was in the Lotus 7 mould, if you like, in terms of style and shape, for a fraction of the cost of a kit car, and using standard tools, basic skills, and low-cost materials, i.e. steel tube. It shows you how to make the chassis, suspension, and bodywork, and advises how to modify and use cheap but serviceable mechanical components. The book includes scaled working drawings, detailed illustrations, and photographs on building a strong space frame chassis and suspension, which are provided along with the source of the power unit suspension, steering, brakes, lights, and other parts. How to make and fit body panels, mudguards, seating and trim, instrument panel, windscreen, and fuel tank. They're all covered in the book, and it was originally sold through Haynes Publishing, and they later produced their own version called the Haynes Roadster, but it was basically the same concept. Now, where people got a little bit nervous was people at home with very basic skills trying to build a quite complicated space frame chassis in their garage. Some people just didn't have the confidence to do it. So an industry sprang up to supply the chassis, the body panels, and the various other components to turn it into effectively what was a kit car. And some of these companies still survive to this day. In fact, MK, which is possibly the largest current kit car manufacturer, can trace its roots back to this very, very simple concept of supplying parts to people who wanted to build one of the Ron Champion cars. So to say that it spawned an industry within the industry is not really stretching the point too much. In fact, it's fair to say that all these cars have evolved beyond the original Ron Champion design, and they were sold, these books, worldwide. So it really was a game changer. And I think the British kit car industry today owes Ron Champion a debt of gratitude, really, for his contribution to what we have today. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little video and this trip down memory lane. Perhaps you can think of another plan-based car that you could suggest in the comments below that we've missed out. Were there other plan-based cars that you know of that we could have mentioned? Have you built a plan-based car? And by all means, send us an email to nwinseats@gmail.com. Include a couple of photos and tell us about your car. And please click on the like and subscribe.